What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Glad you guys are in here tonight. Thank you for tuning in to From the Forum, our Q&A show for fantasy football. I've got a slew of killer guests with me tonight. And I'm not gonna butcher it. I'm gonna actually let them go around and introduce themselves. Guys, if you would, let the audience know who you are, where they could find your work, and just a little bit about you. I guess we can go clockwise. On you, Smash God. That's the coolest thing, by the way.
Thanks for the intro, Tyler. What's up, everyone? My name is Minh, aka Smash God. That's my name on Smash Up Sports. But as it says there, calling in from Smash Up Sports. I'm actually in Southern California. I believe I might be only a West Coast person here, unless Hauck, are you in Hawaii today?
I'm in Hawaii today.
Okay, you're very far west. So I'm West Coast, I guess. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy to talk fantasy. Excited that fantasy is kicking off. This is like the best weekend, right? This is like heavy draft weekend leading up to the best part of the year. So I'm super excited to talk through some questions and some Q&A and to chop it up with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Brett?
Hey guys, I'm Brett Lanier calling in from Baltimore, Maryland. So I guess we got 4 time zones represented. I'm from Bettor Vision, so app that lets you combine all your fantasy and sports betting into one place, dashboard. Not really a content creator, but you can find me on Twitter. My thoughts, and yeah, like Minh said, I love this week after like the playoff week and March Madness. This is probably my favorite time of the year. Third favorite sports time of the year. Doing all my drafts. I'm in 6 live drafts right now during the show. Slow drafs. So I got a little bit of time.
Okay. Your eyeballs are going to be all over the place. So.
Yeah, I think I got 2 more tomorrow, 3 more on Wednesday, another one Monday, another Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday. So a lot more. And I'm in 47 leagues this year. So been doing a lot of drafts.
Mass
Yeah. Happy to be on. Thanks.
47 leagues. Golly. All right, Chris.
First of all, Brad, you didn't realize we're actually here staging an intervention for you tonight. It's the 47th league to put us over the top. No, listen. Thank you, Tyler. I'm Chris Hauck, and I'm also with Smash Up Sports like Minh. So very competitive with them. As he mentioned, he's in LA. I had to go even further west to Hawaii just to beat him at something else. So here from Smash Up, I'm sure they'll come up again tonight. Excited to be here. You can also find me on Twitter, as it says here by my name, at Sports Junkie.
Awesome. Well, man, I am glad to have you guys in for the show tonight. We already got some people popping in the chat. Grindberg saying, "What's up, y'all?" Amber, "What's up, fellas?" And I'm sure we'll have a ton coming in. So preseason has been a little bit of a ride. Already we've seen some injuries. We had some cuts that may have been surprises. And of course we had the Brandon Ayuk just
Drama.
Marathon deal, that went through. And I hear we got a 49ers fan in the building. So curious, what's your thoughts? Is it just a game, or was Ayuk pushing and they just wouldn't budge? Are you happy that he's now signed?
Yeah, I think he's a true number one. He's not quite elite. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not Tyreek Hill. But we're going for a Super Bowl this year. We had to get him. And I think everyone's focused on the top line number, knowing the 49ers and their front office and how they've always operated. I was looking much more at the guaranteed money.
Yeah. As another diehard Niners fan on the call here, like this is the Niners MO, man. They were always going to drag this out, for better or for worse. They've done this every year with like Bosa, Deebo, Kittle. So they just made it a little bit more dramatic this year. And apparently Ayuk just took the same deal that was on the table for like 2 weeks. So I don't know what he was doing. So I think he was just trying to get every last dollar. I mean, I'm glad he got paid, but I wish he would have done it a little sooner. But I think the Niners are locked and loaded for another Super Bowl run. So we're just excited to have him back in the fold.
So Brett, what was the highlight for you of the preseason, or what's maybe something that happened in the preseason that's got you the most excited about this year's fantasy football season?
I was pleasantly surprised at how good Caleb Williams looked. Right, I have not been a believer. I was arguing pretty hard with a lot of people for a long time that they should have kept Justin Fields. They did him wrong. Like, he never had the support, you know. But I think Caleb's going to be good. I don't think he's going to be Patrick Mahomes, but he's going to be good. Watch him in the preseason, like they look better than expected. They may be ahead of the timeline. We'll see. I mean, again, it's vanilla defenses, it's backups sometimes. So that was probably the most exciting thing for me. And then personally, that the Browns cut Tyler Huntley and the Ravens re-signed him as our backup quarterback because our quarterbacks looked terrible in the preseason. So I hated the preseason personally as a fan because my team looked like crap. We didn't play starters, and the backups for once were not any good. But happy to get Tyler Huntley back.
We got a couple more people popping in the chat. Mel, hi y'all. Give me a shout out. Appreciate that, Mel. Always enjoy when you pop in. And we got a question from Dynasty World Football. Brett, who is the value at wide receiver for the Bears? You know, like which guy, you know, take it in ADP, you know, like with performance, who's the guy that you need to get?
I mean, because of the way it's value, you know, he worded it as value, I think it's Odunze. That was the other big surprise in preseason is, you know, Caleb targeted him. Anytime he contain, the play broke down, he was looking for Odunze. So I think because of his ADP, he's the best value. I think DJ Moore's going to be the number one wide receiver there. But I still love Keenan Allen. But based on ADP, you got to go with the rookie.
We got some people agreeing with you in the chat, Greinberg. And Amber said, as a Bears fan, she hadn't even drafted Caleb because of the trauma. You know, I'm not a Bears fan, but I hear it's a rough world to live in, especially, you know, with probably your greatest tease and Jay Cutler just couldn't get it done, you know. But I think that they've got I like what I've seen from Caleb Williams. I think he's going to be a bit of a gamer. I'm a little worried that he's going to have that like Kyler Murray like throw a fit phase, and like if he gets on tilt, you know, he's just. But then again, he could perform. He's got the tools. He's got the weapons. So we got a chat coming in from Dole Guitar 788. Can y'all help me with my lineup? We can. Drop your lineup in. Let us take a look, and we're happy to give some advice on that. The Bears still suck. So Mel is a massive Green Bay fan. So of course she's going to ride that narrative all the way to the house.
Mel coming in hot.
I like it. I love the loyalty.
Yeah. What, you know, I got to ask though, Tyler, or you guys, what do we think about the reports of Keenan Allen being overweight? Have you guys seen those reports that he's like up to 230? Is that just like fake news, like fake camp news, or what do you guys think about that?
I don't know about the original reports, but ESPN yesterday and Get Up, somebody reported that he was back down to his normal weight. So he either ballooned up and it was a lot of water weight, and he lost it really quickly, or it was a bad.
What is this, UFC? You just cut weight like that?
He was running around in trash bags. He was doing
exactly. He just
suicides.
To make weight.
Come on, but I think these are unrealistic body expectations. Real receivers have curves. It's okay. As long as Keenan can catch the ball, we're good.
I mean, his ADP is just like tanking as this weight goes up. So.
You know, I feel like they're always looking for a narrative. You know, you always see something in a team. They're always looking for something to grab onto and run with to push the narrative on like values and things like that. I just want to make sure. Dole Guitar, make sure you drop that lineup in the chat so that we can see it, or you can send it over through Twitter or on fantasysportsadvice.com, and we're happy to take a look at it. I just don't want you to think that we're not trying to get your question answered. You did pay for it, and we're happy to do that. So while we're waiting on that to drop in, you know, this show is brought to you from fantasysportsadvice.com, which is a social media platform for fantasy sports. And, this is in fact what we do. We talk ball, right? Like, people in there all the time dropping their questions, looking for advice, doing trade advice, keeper questions, all these different things. And you got great guys like these people that are in the room right now that are there to answer those questions and give you good feedback, both from pros and from people that are just neck deep in fantasy all the time, like Brett doing 47 drafts, like he
I'm a
doesn't
clock right
have
now.
a family or a life. No, I know it's addicting. The drafting is addicting. That's probably the biggest thing. Like every year, I'm going to cut down leagues, and still I end up picking up a couple just because I was like, man, I really want to draft right now.
It's hard to say no. It's hard to say no. People are like, hey, you want to join the league? You're like, all right, yeah, why not?
or now with all the sites, how many times you're watching TV and you're bored, you're like, I'm just going to do a best ball league. And next thing you know, you're just sitting there drafting on your phone.
Yeah. I will say this, like, thanks for Underdog or Drafters, because that keeps me from doing another league. So let's see. Amber said, for single quarterback PPR, what's the earliest you'll I didn't get the rest of that question.
Draft a quarterback.
Oh, you'll draft a quarterback?
Yeah.
What you think? Are you late quarterback, early quarterback?
I would say the last probably 4 or 5 years, I've been a hero quarterback guy. I've gone after Lamar, Hurts, mostly Lamar and Hurts the last couple of years, even though Allen's probably been the best of them. This year, I think there's a lot more talent. I think quarterback's a lot deeper, especially with running quarterbacks as well. And I like my favorite right now is targeting Kyler around the 6th or 7th round. If I miss on him, trying to get like Jaden Daniels in the 9th or 10th. And if I miss on him, I take Jared Goff, who plays 14 games indoors this year.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's got weapons. Man, he's got weapons and a good offensive line. Frank Ragnow at center, man, it's just the Arkansas fans just bleeding out of me, I'm typically a late quarterback guy, unless, when I say that, I found myself twice this year taking a quarterback in the 5th to 6th round, and it was a situation where it was a 4-point passing touchdown league, and one of the running quarterbacks, like Lamar, for example, happened to fall all the way into round 6, and I'm like,
yeah,
man,
you got to take
value.
Yeah.
It's undeniable. But typically, I'm going to go skill, and I'm going to take quarterback and get somebody, later that I think will be top 12, top 15, that'll pull the weight for me. What about you, Chris? I mean, early quarterback, late quarterback?
I'm late. Kind of a little bit of interesting theory here, which is I think that 2 years ago broke people's brains a little bit. We had a year where the entire second tier of quarterbacks felt like Dak got hurt, Aaron Rodgers fell off a cliff, Trey Lance got hurt. People expected him to make the leap. Stafford had a bad year. Every second tier quarterback died. And so every team that did well had a top quarterback. And ever since then, people have been talking about, should I take an early quarterback? But to your point, Tyler, every league I've done where I go skill, my team looks a lot better. Unless the guy really slips to me, there's so much value late with guys like Kyler, Dak, Jaden Daniels. If you have to, even like a Brock Purdy or Goff, I just struggle to reach for quarterback early.
Yeah. So I want to go ahead and jump to this question, and Minh, you can start us off on the evaluation of the roster. I want to make sure that we get Dolgatar's question in. So he said it's a start 9, 1 quarterback. Looks like 1 and 2 running back. Okay, so his starting quarterback's Hurts. Running back 1 is 2. It's JT and Montgomery. Wide receiver Amon-Ra and Puka. Tight end, he's got Kittle and Komet to pop in there. Start 3 flex, Olave, Dell, Higgins, Rice. He said they draft on Monday, and he has the 1-1, the 1-3, and the 1-7.
Woo!
I will say this, congratulations, because you're about to rack up, my friend. You're about to rack up. I don't know what league you're in, but I want some of it. He said he's adding on this. He said was planning on trading Dell for Jake Ferguson and a first. So Dell moves, you get Ferguson, and then another first. So you get, I guess, then you're sitting on 4. I'm not sure which pick it is but I mean, you've got 2 in the top 3, so you're going to be all right.
Not 1, 3, or 7. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it looks like he's saying he was going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and Adunze. I imagine that especially if he is going to trade away the Dell for Ferguson in the first. So, Minh, what are you thinking here?
I mean, that team already looked good without 3 first-round picks incoming. I'm curious how deep this league is. I'm assuming maybe it's a 10-teamer, maybe so. But, I mean, that trade alone, I would do that. Like, Dell, you're giving away for a first. So Dell, to me, is not a first-rounder. Obviously, he's more of a, depending on league size, like 4th, 5th, 6th-rounder. But you're also getting Ferguson, who actually, just as a side, I love Ferguson as a tight end value this year. Like, if you are punting tight end or really just miss out on some of those like top tier tight ends, like I think there's a tier of like elite 5 or 6 tight ends, like Ferguson's a great value late. So I love taking Ferguson in a lot of my drafts this year. But yeah, I'd say overall that team looks legit, man. And like with 3, possibly now 4 incoming first-round picks, I don't know how anyone competes against that lineup, man. Like it looks really good. Someone's doing something right, or some others are doing something really, really wrong to let you stack that type of team.
Lineup's good. The only thing I'm going to assume is I think the draft is a rookie draft because I'm looking at it, even keeping Komet. It's got to be a rookie. So Harrison 1, grab someone like Brian Thomas at 3 or one of the running backs, a handcuff. You're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, I will say this. When I look at the roster, that is one place that I worry about is running back. As far as the roster goes, we see basically JT and Montgomery. Now, we know Montgomery is going to be in a timeshare, but we do know he's probably going to get some touchdowns. So any week he can be pretty relevant. And honestly, I think the Montgomery-Gibbs duo is one where I could play both of them in my running back slots and survive. But with the JT injury history, with, Monty getting into the heavy set, workload where he's going to get twists and crank, like he's going to take on some more contact than like somebody like Gibbs will. I'm worried about getting another running back. So I may take the first and like hope, or I may turn around and try to move that 1-7 or whatever the first I get with Ferguson in. And I'm going to wait till during the draft when everybody's itching to make that pick because their player's sitting right there, right? And then I'm going to try to move that, and you need another stud running back. Like if you can get somebody like I think that ETN could be got with a mid to late first round pick. You know what I'm saying? A player like that, to where you can get some running back depth. That's where I'm trying to go with that roster and fill that hole. But I love the first round picks. I mean, you can get, at least 3 of probably the top wide receivers in this draft, and you're going to be looking stellar. So great job with that roster. Great putting that together. We got Bronson coming in and saying trade Waddle and Keon Coleman for Amon-Ra. What do you think, Chris? You look like you're chewing on it.
No, that's a no-brainer to me. Amon-Ra is a first-rounder. Waddle's obviously good, but Keon Coleman could be good. He could just be nothing. A lot of rookies. We're at that time of year where we're starting to see the good in everybody. We've seen training camp. We've studied all these rookies. The future's so bright, we're wearing shades. 1 or 2 of them are going to be fantastic. A lot of them are going to be guys who for the next 2-3 years get 600 yards and like 4 touchdowns, if you're lucky. So I think you make that deal. Amon-Ra's young. You take him.
We in agreement?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because I've heard a lot of things, and I've fought it a bit, and Dole Guitar comes and says no one wants to give him a running back. They will give you a running back during the draft when they're thirsty. Okay, you just got to wait for the right time.
It's like the bar at 1:45 in the morning. That is the best time. Leave it at that.
But
speaking from experience, Hauck. So
yeah, I don't doubt it. But Keon Coleman, there's been a lot of hype on Keon Coleman. him being the number one guy in Buffalo, that he's going to be hyper targeted by a quarterback that can really deliver, and in that you wonder, like, okay, are we going to see real wide receiver one potential there? Let me ask, are you, Brett, you tell me, are you buying in on the sauce?
I love Keon Coleman as an interview. He's probably the best interview in all of football right now.
Yeah.
Hilarious dude. He was my favorite target during the college football season. I was like, he's a guy that will probably go in the late 20s. I'd love for my Ravens to have him. We need a big-bodied receiver. But everything I've been reading since he got drafted is not been good. That he's just not ready, that he needs, he's very developmental. Like, he's a great jump ball receiver. He'll be great in the red zone. But, I'm worried he'll be just a red zone guy, right? So if that's the case, obviously Amon-Ra is better than him and Waddle. But if he develops into a, think of other basketball players, Antonio Gates or tight end for the Saints.
Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham, thank you. Like, if he develops into that kind of player, and whether he transitions to tight end like Darren Waller did, or if he stays as the big body wide receiver, like, he could be a monster. So I don't know. It's one of those things, like, there's a lot of uncertainty there. So I'm mostly staying away.
I've stayed away from Keon Coleman a lot, and it's a weird reason. Like, for one, Keon he's played in Florida State. Like, he's always been in the heat. I don't know that Keon Coleman's ready for the winter in Buffalo. Like, I don't know what he's going to do when his hands are ice cold and rock hard, and they're playing like
Hawaii, Alabama, Miami.
So, that just takes some adjustment, and so I think that it's going to be slow. But I am with all of you guys on that. If you can get a guaranteed, top four, probably top four, top five guy for developmental, and I think it's a even trade, but I always want the more points per roster spot, so I want the stud. But that's me. I'm going to try to catch up here. We got some comments. 230 pounds is probably how much AJ Dillon's quad weighs. It's sad. It's probably going to weigh more because he's going to be sitting out this year. Yeah. She said she's going to be doing a draft after this, PPR Superflex from the 1-8 position, 11 deep. That's interesting. Albert coming in. What's up, everyone? What's up, Albert? Glad you're tuning in. And Southern Dad coming in. What's up? Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you like and sub to the video. We're going to keep rolling here. So we're going to go over to fantasysportsadvice.com. We're going to hit a question to hit the chat today. So I'm going to throw this up on the screen. And the question is, in my home league, it's a super flex, half PPR keeper league. And I can keep 2 players, and then he lays out the potential keepers. It looks like he's got the numbers written beside the round that it's going to cost him. Lamar 1, Brees 4, Bijan 1, JT 8, A-Rich 5. Who are you, if you get 2, I mean, who out of this are like, I got to keep at the value?
I think it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, Brees Hall and Jonathan Taylor, a number 1 pick, top 7 pick in the 4th round, and probably a top 15 pick, kind of early 2nd round in the 8th. Those seem to be the best values there. Like, Richardson would probably go.
He's going like 5th in the draft that I'm in.
Well, no, this is super flex. So,
super flex. Okay,
yeah. Like, he'll probably go 1st round. So I could see potentially taking him over Brees. That way, you're getting at least 1 elite quarterback.
I would say you got 2 running quarterbacks that you're putting. If you go with that, you got 2 running quarterbacks you're putting back on the board. Yeah. In a super flex league. I mean,
Now that I think about it, maybe I switch. Brees and Richardson are both going to go Actually, Brees might go in the early second in a super flex. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to switch it to Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson.
Okay. Everybody on the same accord there? You got a different thought?
That's a tough one. I think. Go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead, Nick.
No, please. I want to go ahead and I want to debate your answer.
No,
so.
you.
He wants me to jump up to try to contest his shot so he can dunk on me. I know exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Give him
go
the
for it.
set, Give him the
Chris,
set.
say your stupid thing so I can crush it.
Exactly.
Yeah, my only minor question would be what pick he has in the draft, because I will say Lamar, well, he is a first rounder. He could be like a top 3 pick, right, in a super flex. So if you've got like the 12th pick, maybe you actually just want to secure Lamar and you want to take care of your quarterback right now and you get your running backs later. If you have another top 5 pick, well, great. Keep Richardson, draft another quarterback early, and definitely keep someone like Taylor where that's just tremendous value.
Is that what you were thinking, Minh?
No, yeah, I agree with that.
He hates it. He hates that he agrees with me.
I know. I could slide nothing to say now. No, I actually love. I mean, and I agree with you guys. Everything that Brett and Chris said. I love Anthony Richardson this year, and so you talk about like QB1 upside. Like he's a dude I love from a value perspective at the QB position. I know we were talking about earlier, like late QB. I go late QB mostly, like some of you guys here. But Anthony Richardson's probably the one guy that I don't want to say reach for, but that I draft earlier than normal because he's got that QB1 upside. So I love that pick and that trade off.
Oh, Tyler, he was not reading Twitter earlier. He doesn't know the firestorm. He just
doesn't know.
I don't know. Did you go off? I didn't read it yet.
Brett, let's have our beers. These two now.
Let's go. Let's hear about it. Convince me otherwise, Tyler.
No, I'm not gonna. One of my guys, so he made a comment about tonight's show, and he was like, "Oh man, you're gonna get Tyler on like a 5-minute Anthony Richardson, narrative here." No, I'm not an Anthony Richardson guy.
Okay.
And I could be totally wrong, but I'll sum it up like this. If you go on resume, right? Anthony Richardson, top touted recruit. Anthony Richardson goes to a top school in the SEC. Anthony Richardson surrounded by a great head coach and tons of 4- and 5-star talent. Anthony Richardson can't get the team over 500 in the weak side of the SEC. And so it's like, to me, you have the injury concerns. That's number one, right? You have injury concerns. And then 2, can he do it? I will tell you this, though. If it wasn't for the head coach in Indianapolis,
I know.
I would say he has no shot. But because of the head coach and Greinberg saying in the chat, A-Rich to the moon, Shane Steichen is the quarterback whisperer. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for the head coach, I would be completely out. But the head coach does give me hope. My worry is if it's like Malik Willis, right? We saw Malik Willis just couldn't pause to throw the ball. He wanted to run every single time. And A-Rich has to make that transition into a Jalen Hurts, where he'll stick and he'll throw the ball. He only runs when he has to, and he runs carefully. So like that's what I need to see. And until then, I'm not bought in, and I haven't taken any risk on him. Personally.
I will say I don't have like a ton of exposure. Like I said, it's like once in a while I've reached for him. I do think that risk and concern is real that you mentioned, Tyler. I also think that's baked into his ADP, right? Like if there was no concern or he had done that for 10 games instead of 2, he would not be going in the 5th or 6th round of 1 quarterback leagues, right? He'd be going sky high. So I think that concern is there. That's why some people are laying off. I think he is pretty polarizing. Like you mentioned, some people are just out on him. But we'll see, right? He's going to either break some teams' hearts this year or he's going to win a lot of leagues. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands at the end of the year if he's even on the active roster.
Yeah, maybe on IR again. I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not.
We don't want that for anyone. So.
I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he's absolutely stellar. And we will leave it at that.
Okay. Well, I'll read Twitter after this.
No, we didn't get
It's going to be a 100-tweet thread between these two later.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. No, I mean, I'll be on blast. It'll be like everybody will be hitting me up in the show. You said Anthony Richardson wasn't gonna be good. Ah. No, it always comes back. There's we try. We are not always correct. See a total of 28 games since 2020, if my calculations are correct. I'm not 100% sure on that stat, but I know he's missed time almost every single year he's played.
I thought I had seen Amber might be right, but I thought I had seen he's played 17 games since high school.
That's more than Trey Lance.
Yeah, true. and then you compare him to another kind of quarterback in almost the same situation, Jaden Daniels, who's played 55 games since high school, right? Like, if it's between those guys, and I can get one in the 5th and one in the 9th. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the guy with a ton more experience with the Heisman.
I have a lot more exposure to Jaden Daniels and Anthony Richardson. I think those several rounds, like fill out the skill players, and the great thing is like you can in the 9th or 10th round, you can gamble on Jaden, and if he worked, fantastic, right? He could win you the league, and if he fails, well, just make sure you turn around, draft someone like Dak a round or two later, or Purdy,
right. Yes,
as a safety net.
Typically, if you draft a quarterback early, wait a long time before you draft your second. If you're drafting a quarterback late, you probably want to draft another quarterback right after.
So I have a love-hate relationship with Jaden Daniels. I think he's a winner. I think he's a good quarterback, and I've watched him like as a Razorback fan, right? I've watched Arkansas have the lead at halftime and a good lead, and then all of a sudden here comes Jaden Daniels trotting out at halftime, and he just obliterates us and brings them back to stomp. And I'm thinking we're bringing home the golden boot, and it ain't happening. I think he's a baller. I think he can throw. I think he can run. I'm excited to see what he does, and he stays on the field for the most part. I feel like with a little bit more development there, I think he'll be a pretty solid play. So I like that a lot, Chris. So question from RS German: can Josh Palmer be top 24 this year? Can he be that? That's a big one. Top 24. Can he be top 24? I mean, you had a reaction there. What are you thinking?
I mean, my quick response is no. And I actually like Joshua Palmer's value at the very end of drafts. I'm taking some Josh Palmer here or there. I mean, if you just look at who the top 24 is just based on ADP alone, I mean, he's got to beat out guys like T, Steph Diggs, Pickens, Rasheed Zay. I mean, there's a lot of strong performers out there. They've all got to have bad seasons for Palmer to finish top 24. Could he finish top 36? Maybe, right? Someone's got to catch the balls out there. I was reading some stats on Roman and Harbaugh when they were together in San Francisco. I mean, they were supporting some 1,000-yard wide receivers out there, Crabtree. You also had Vernon Davis. So it's not like they don't pass the ball at all, right? And, who knows what that Chargers team's going to look like this year. They're going to have to throw the ball a little bit. You've got Herbert, obviously. So Herbert's got a live arm. He's a good QB. But there's not a lot of pedigree in that room. So I feel like it's just going to be – the ball's just going to be spread around out there. And I don't know if Palmer's going to elevate himself enough amongst those other receivers to finish top 24.
Let me ask you this. Who is the guy in that offense at receiver?
I know you want to say it, Mick.
Lad McConkey. I'm a Lad guy. I like Lad a lot. I like Lad.
You got to give him the accent. You got to give him your
Lad McConkey. There you go. I like Lad. And I think Lad got a lot of hype early in the summer. And I feel like, as camp has started, Palmer's come on a little bit. But I like Lad. He's going to play out of the slot. He's going to probably catch a lot of balls, especially in PPR. PPR, I like Lad for sure.
Yeah, I did see. I mean, the reports on Lad in the preseason have not been as strong as we hoped. So we haven't seen that crazy rise in ADP. We've actually seen a fall in ADP. So at the value there, you almost have to take a shot. But I am curious to see who really rises in that offense. I think he has the potential to be that. And, we'll see. That one's so if Palmer's number one, right? If he does perform like a 1, like a true outside, guy, at that point, is he top 24? Or are you still out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the volume is going to be there enough to
really
support the top 24.
I agree. I don't think top 24. I think that's a bold call. And I will say this: I'm always a go with your gut guy in a way. Like, if you really feel strong about something, I disagree, but that doesn't matter. Like, if you really feel strong about something, right? Go with it, because if he does come and he does finish top 24, you're going to be mad at yourself that you didn't go with your gut and you listen to people like us, because we can be wrong and there is a little bit of randomness to it, but I think that it's a little bit stacked against them to get there. I think the talent pool is pretty wide and strong, and I don't see top 24 finish, but I could see top 40.
But let me say this for Palmer, which is fantasy is three things, right? It is skill, it's opportunity, and it's luck. And then I'll say the one thing Palmer has on his side is opportunity. So he is a potential number one receiver. If you're a number one receiver, you're probably certainly top 30. And in fact, we did some research the last couple of years. There's always about 11 of the top 30 who are drafted outside of the top 60. We also see this thing happen where people get a lot of hype as rookies. If they don't set the world on fire, people forget about them. But a lot of players bust out in their second and third year. So whether it's Palmer in in LA with the Chargers, whether it's Shakir in Buffalo, where Coleman's getting a lot of hype, there's a couple second-year guys who could crack that top 30, potentially top 20, if they really are the number one.
And Amber says, does Quinton Johnson have the potential to elevate this season for fantasy purposes? And I think really the question is he rosterable? Because I honestly, like, in my redraft leagues, I'm not even seeing him go. Are we that far gone on him?
I mean, he has potential. That's kind of all he has.
Everybody's
right?
got
I mean, like he has a lot of wasted potential. Can he elevate that? I mean, there's only one way to go from where he is. So yeah, I guess he can elevate it, right? Like, he's not going to get worse this year.
Brett, now you sound like my parents. This is great. A lot of wasted potential. Dad, is that you?
Yeah. Oh goodness. All right, we're gonna hop over. She said she's laughing with you, Chris. That's funny. We're gonna hop back over here to Fantasy Sports Advice Network, and Joe Frick's coming in, and this is a absolute funny graphic or way to think about this. So he did a Tinder play here, and he's saying that he says, "Welcome to Fantasy Football Tinder. Has the news of Kieran Williams fielding punts have you rethinking taking him at his ADP?" Chris, you're shaking your head. You still taking him as I mean, he's a top 3 round guy right now.
So I'll say this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'll say as early as second.
So I've been a little bit cool on him at his second round ADP. He started to slip back towards the third. He still has a ton of potential. Specifically about the fielding punt news, I feel like this happens every season. We've heard about Debo fielding punts in the past. Every year you just get some absolutely wacky stories right before the season starts. If you like Kieran, you like him, and I would not let the news dissuade you. If you don't like him for other reasons, that's totally fine. But this feels like the kind of weird training camp news that as soon as the season starts, you feel a little bit ridiculous if this is what swayed your opinion.
Yeah, I feel like Coach McVay must be targeting Kieran in his fantasy drafts and is trying to push him down in ADP because it's dumb. Why would you talk about this? I know he fielded punts last year, right? Like the first 3 games last year, he was fielding punts, but then I think he took over full time, and I think once he was taking 100% of the snaps, 97% of the snaps, 95% of the snaps, I don't think he was fielding punts again. So maybe he will. Maybe the plan is, hey, we drafted Blake Corum early. We're going to play him. He's going to get 25, 30% of the snaps. And so now Kyron's fresh and he can go and field some punts. He gets an opportunity to be dynamic in other ways, but it doesn't worry me too much. I probably am still taking him at ADP.
So let me ask you this: do you think Corum works his way in this season for some significant value?
Yeah, I think if you draft Kyron, I would absolutely reach a little bit to make sure you get Corum later in the draft. He'll have some standalone value, but if Kyron gets injured, which he has some injury history, Corum is a smash play. I mean, it's basically Kyron from last year, right? Like Cam Akers gets injured, Kyron comes in. McVay typically rides one dude, and if that dude's Blake Corum, he's got the talent, he's got the draft capital, he'll have the opportunity. Yeah, that's a smash place.
So speaking of Corum, Minh, Chris, I love the Smash Up Fantasy Sports app. I got on there and I started playing in the preseason, and the preseason was total cluster, right? Like I'm trying to guess on like who's gonna get snaps, how many snaps they're gonna get, and then not only that, like I'm trying to play the correct power-ups on the players that are actually gonna get snaps. And that was a doozy, trying to
that's hard. That's hard.
I tell you this, Trey Lance did really well for me.
Trey Lance looked good in the preseason. At least with his legs.
Until the last game.
Right. Until that 5-pick game. Yeah, I was like, I stopped myself.
There was there was a couple players that did good for me. There was also some players that did zeros for me. I think I finished in the top 100 like twice maybe, which was cool. But that's to me, I'm a winner. Like I gotta go after it. But I love it. It's a fun, cool way to play fantasy. You can play season long or you can play week to week, right? And you can draft a new roster. So I did want to take a second, and if Chris, Minh, whoever wants to take it, would love for you to just let our audience know a little bit more about it, as that's what you guys do. And I'll throw it up on the screen for you, Chris, there.
Absolutely. Thank you. So this is Smash Up Fantasy Sports, and as Tyler was saying, essentially it is traditional fantasy football, but mixed with some really cool elements of, video games, board games, card games. And one of those is the Smash cards that let you power up your players. And you can think of it as like a video game power up if you like video games, or if you're like a really DFS fantasy guy, you can think of it as like player props you can put on your players for free to get extra fantasy points. So as you can see here, we're in the app and there's 3 game modes, free weekly tournaments. By the way, everything's free. No entry fees, no pay to win mechanics. So free weekly tournaments that have cash and prizes. There's season-long leagues you can play to challenge your friends, and we have a public league. You can play for to win some jerseys. And then coming in a few weeks, we've got the world's first single-player fantasy game. I think even someone maybe from this group, maybe one of the bosses, is going to be a Street Fighter-style tournament, working your way up, trying to beat the bosses head-to-head that get tougher and tougher. So you can play your way to the Tournament of Champions in the postseason to go for some big prizes. And to give you a little preview of how this works, if I click on weekly here, so we have weekly tournaments. This one is last week's tournament. Actually, this is going to be week 1 of the season. Let me see if the lineups are in here yet. Yeah, so I think we actually can see some of the lineups. I think they're still getting some players in. But, I can go put in, I'm not going to set a full lineup here, but use a salary cap to pick your players. Once you have some players in, you've got a second salary cap you can use for these power-ups. So, because I've got Tyreek Hill and, Christian McCaffrey in there, well, I'll use the Run CMC Smash card, which is kind of like a parlay where if a player gets at least 80 rushing yards and 40 receiving yards, you get a bonus 30 fantasy points. So I'm going to put this here on McCaffrey. That cost me 5,000 of my Smash card salary cap. And if I can find it here, let me put in maybe Speed Demon.
You think of Speed Demon? Yeah, that's a good one for Tyreek.
Down a little bit.
Oh, you saw it? It's going to search for
right about there.
There we go. So speed demon, if a player has reception of 40 yards or more, the card is worth 30 points. You can also click on it here if I want to just see the cards and scroll through all the graphics.
Yeah, and Tyreek is always a possibility for that every game.
Yeah, every freaking game.
Every game. Like one a game, right?
So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to add this to Tyreek. And so that in a nutshell is kind of how the game works. Minh, do you have anything else you wanted to add while we're here?
No. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's not your typical head-to-head. It's like tournament style. If you're in the tourney, if you do start a league, we start a league with our friends, like most people do, a home league. It's just most points to win. And so we like that style and format because, you're in your leagues, and by week 8, there's always a couple teams that are like 0-8, 1-7, and they just.
Yeah. I think we lost Minh there for a second. Yeah, there you are. You're back with us. I will say it's a blast. Like, I've really enjoyed it, and make sure I got, if you will, what's the URL that they need to go to play?
It is smashupsports.com, and in fact, for your listeners here, we have a special promo code FFA and Fantasy Football Advice Network. And if they put that in, they will, everything is free, but like in the weekly tournaments, you'll get 4 lineups, whereas most users only get 3. It's a little bit of a better shot at winning the grand prize and some other perks in the other games. So special thing for the people listening and your fans, Tyler.
Hey, no problem, man. I love it. It's fun. I'm going to play all season, I'm a mathematics guy. So I get stuck in like which bonus is going to really I was sitting there reading through, and I had my calculator out, and I was like, okay, this is more likely to happen, and like trying to, be a step it, but I've got to learn it. I got to learn which power-ups are the best, but I'm excited for this season doing it. So we're going to get back into the questions. Thanks for sharing that, guys. We got from over on Fantasy Sports Advice Network, we got a pop quiz from Mr. Mongrue, and you can see the tally of votes, and it's a little bit lopsided, but who's going to have the better 2024 season, Alvin Kamara or Josh Jacobs? Must be a doozy. Nobody's jumping up and down.
I mean, I feel like I've been talking a lot, so I was trying to give other people an opportunity. But probably 2 weeks ago, I would have agreed with the poll and would have gone Kamara, like not in a sexy way. Like he's just gonna get a very inefficient ton of fantasy points because he's gonna get 12, 15 targets a game at 1 or 2 yards apiece. But with the surprise kind of season-ending IR for A.J. Dillon, who we knew they were going to play two running backs typically, and then Marshawn Lloyd being injured, like I don't have a lot of faith in whoever those fourth and fifth running backs are on that team, and I think now Josh Jacobs is going to get a ton of volume, and I love him. He's moving way up my draft board. And before I was kind of avoiding him. Now I'm targeting him actively.
These are great points by Brett. I think the one thing I'd say is this is probably one question where format matters a lot.
Yeah.
If you give me non-PPR, Jacobs all the way, even before the Dillon injury, right? I mean, he's going to get probably more touchdowns, better offense, better line. If it's PPR, David Carr is always checked down because running back Jacobs had by far his most receptions with Carr. Even guys like Abdullah had their most receptions with Carr. So I think Kamara will have another. I mean, he had 74 receptions only playing 14 games last year? So he could 13. He could push 100 receptions for PPR, but he could also score 3 touchdowns. So format matters.
Yeah, full PPR, definitely. I mean, he had a 12 and 13 catch game last year. I mean,
yeah, Derek Carr was a dump off guy.
How many yards did he have? How many yards did he have?
14 yards.
I think it was like 38. I think he had 12 catches for 38 yards.
13 for 33, and then the other one's 12 for 91.
But that's like 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah,
that's insane.
All right, so we got Sober Money in the do y'all play Dynasty? We do play Dynasty. If you got a Dynasty question, go on and drop it in. Got Dynasty World, talking about the Saints. Are you guys in on Rasheed Shaheed? I know there's a lot of hype. I know in the Scott Fishbowl drafts, I saw him going as early as round 6.
I saw him go as high as round 4.
You know,
Which I thought was insane. But
that was drunk money.
Yeah.
That's drunk money, exactly.
Is the hype? I mean, is it all hype? Does he actually have a road to that kind of production? I mean, we saw Carr and Olave struggle to connect last season. Is that going to be fixed? And is Rasheed really going to be that kind of value?
No, all right. I'll
go for it. I think this one similarly goes back to the format, right? Like if you're getting return yards, then yes, I'm in on Rasheed. If you're not getting return yards, I think he's going to take a step forward. I think he's going to be better this year, but he's still going to be the wide receiver 2 in the Saints offense, right? And that limits his ceiling.
I like Shaheed in like best ball, right?
Yes.
Like he's going to have some big games, right? He definitely will have maybe like 135, 145 yard game with a touchdown or 2 like that. He'll pop every now and then, but like what, 1 or 2 games a year? I don't know. So
Corey popping in saying super cute fellas, and the Dynasty is the best way to play. I enjoy Dynasty a lot, but like for me, the Rasheed, it's just too high. I'm not buying in. And I think we kind of live in this world of like the Saints of old, and so we automatically consider them like a prolific offense. And I don't know that they've really recreated that, and so it's hard for me to see Olave struggle last year, like to see a player that really rises to, really, I mean, when you're talking about fourth or even 6th round, you're talking about a top, 24, top, 30 guy at the position. And really on the early side of that, like, it's pretty tough. And so I'm not in at that high, but I have seen him start to drop of recent. Like I think in my redraft league, he went like the last pick the last round of the draft. And so like if I want to take like a late round flyer, somebody on my bench that could have the upside, sure. I definitely, I love the best ball grab on him. It's definitely there. And here Shaheed or Curtis Samuel, it's Curtis Samuel for me. It's Curtis Samuel for me. And I saw everybody was like shaking their head. And then when I said that, like they like stopped, like Brett was like, that wasn't what I was expecting you to say.
I was just thinking neither. Like I can't imagine a scenario where like I'm not staring at a better player than those two.
I mean, at the end of the draft, right? It's like, one of the final picks, you take a shot at one of them. I mean, I like Samuel. I'm with you, Tyler. I like Samuel because he's got the Joe Brady connection. I mean, you don't know who's going to break through out of that wide receiver room in Buffalo. I actually think Kincaid's going to be the wide receiver 1 out there, basically. But I'll take a flyer on Samuel every now and then at the end of the draft for sure.
So Sober Money said, I'm in a Dynasty PPR Superflex. And he's talking about trading away Gibbs for Kyron and Connor. Current running backs are Gibbs, Pollard, Javonte, Lobb, and Carson, the Steel Man. So, so basically, Gibbs, Pollard, Javonte. The other ones are maybes. What do you think? Is he thin enough to give away Gibbs for Kyron and Connor? Is it worth it? What's your thoughts, Minh?
I mean, this went back to a point I think you made earlier, Tyler. Like, I like the stud personally. Kyron and Connor is pretty enticing, though, right? Connor's got some injury concerns. I'm a little iffy on him. I think if he stays healthy, he'll be awesome. But there's some current concerns injury-wise. And And then Gibbs, I mean, in Dynasty, like Gibbs is just nice, right? Especially in Dynasty, he's young. I don't know. I think I would hang on to, in that scenario, personally, I'd hang on to Gibbs.
Sober, his second question or second thing was going to be what my question is. I've played Dynasty for years in different sports, and some years it's your year to win a championship. Some years, you're trusting the process, as my other poster says, and you're rebuilding. If this year you're to win, the trade makes sense. Like, you can't plan too much for the future. My only thing is I'd almost rather start the season if you can. Play the first couple weeks, see if your team suffers some terrible injuries. But I would make the trade if you're pushing for a championship and you're pushing your chips in the middle. If not, if you're rebuilding a bit, then I would obviously want to hold on to Gibbs.
Yeah. Gibbs is definitely, so young, so talented, great offensive system. It's hard to let that go, especially with McVay's unwillingness to commit to anybody at running back for a long period of time. And, and then Connor, I think he's pushing his limits. He's starting to enter Zeke land, and where he can still be effective, but he's not going to win you leagues,
That hurts, man. Zeke was so good for so long. I hate to watch.
He was so good for so long. Even last. So the key is Zeke's success is receptions. Every year that he gets 70 or more receptions, he is absolutely boss. And whenever they decided to bring Pollard in, what did Pollard take away? He took away receptions. When he went to New England, Ramondre went down, and all of a sudden, you saw it at the end of the season. Zeke was winning you games. Not because he was running the ball, because he was catching the ball out of the backfield, and so that's like the key to success there. And so I'm hoping that he can bring that back a little bit this season. I saw some, that camp news where he's like all bent over and heaving, and maybe he's out of shape, but time will tell. I know they did bring in Dalvin Cook this week and signed him, so that's going to throw a big wrench in the Cowboys question mark at running back. But we are hitting our point in time. It is the hour mark. I want to say I appreciate all three of you guys for joining me today. Everybody that's tuned in, please hit the like button, hit the sub button. We will be back again next week at 9:00 Central Time with From the Forum. Again, go check out fantasysportsadvice.com and sign up. If we didn't get to your question tonight, that's the place. Go answer it. Go and ask the question there. Sign up. It's free to sign up. Ask your question there, and we'll get on there. I know I'll get on there. I'll answer your question and give you some feedback. But again, thanks for tuning in. If you guys will go in the same order, just real quick, let the crowd know where they could find you if they want to connect after this show. Go ahead, Minh.
Yeah, you can connect with all of us at Smash Up at Smash Up Sports on pretty much every social network you could think of: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube.
Yep, and find me primarily on Twitter. Twitter handles there. At either Better Vision or RBL Leader One.
And again, like with Minh, smashupsports.com, all the things he mentioned, Smash Pod on YouTube, our pod, Tyler will have to have you on, and Brett, you as well.
Sure.
And given my advanced age, probably also in Zeke land myself tonight. Starting early on a Friday.
Get some rest, buddy.
Yeah, it's definitely early over there if you're in Hawaii, thinking about bedtime. But yeah, again, thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next week. FantasySportsAdvice.com.